Alright, in this video we're going to continue working on building the dumpster, and some of the things that we're going to work on are the flaps. But I just wanted to go over a couple of the details that we're going to finish up today. So I think the Maya mesh will be hopefully finished today, and then on Thursday we'll start working on the ZBrush and actually on Maya and finish up the UV mapping, and then prep it for ZBrush and then start the welding and get that finished up on Thursday, and then next week start and finish all the substance painting. Here's some other details that we'll work on today. Is this little bracket. I think there's 4 of them, and then also we'll make a bent bar also. So I think we should be able to get that done in today's class. Don't know if there's any other details. I'm just kind of looking. May add that. I don't think I got any detail shots of the base of the dumpster. Let's see it from the very front. Not really any information. Maybe we'll extend this out. Looks like there's extended like little skid plate here. So basically 3 things. This, the brackets, the bar, and 4 skid plates. And I think I'll stop it there because we could add some more details, but I think this is good enough to make this look realistic. Alright, so what I did, I already prepped, or not prepped, opened up IMG underscore 5242 JPEG, and that should be on the Canvas drive and files. And so again, we open up rulers, and if you don't know what rulers is, you just go view and rulers, just make sure that is on. And I'm just going to make some guidelines, and this one's really skewed, so we're going to model the best we can, and also did not do a good shot on the photo, so just gonna kind of pull that in even though it's extended out. And I'm going to duplicate this, right click, duplicate layer. I think this one's the first thing that people had hiccups on. And then select the upper top, I might hit Command T or Apple T, depending on what computer, and I'm going to hit Command, and this gives me a selection of this corner point right here. So I'm just gonna, it's gonna warp the heck out of it, but it's alright, it's just gonna give me some starting point for the modeling. Alright, and again, we're gonna model it, and then we're gonna do some squishing of the model to fit the form. Again, not the greatest bit of information here. Go ahead, hit enter, and we're gonna move and zoom this out a little bit. Hit Command T again, and this again, there's a lot of warpage here, so this is not the best photo. Again, I should have tried to get a little bit higher, maybe even used a car to stand up, get a little bit higher shot of the dumpster lid here. But I think, again, we know there's 2 halves that'll fit on top, and we can skew the model once we get into Maya, once it's finished. Okay, so basically we're wanting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 4 on each side. We'll try our best on a model, okay? So it doesn't have to be perfect, but again, we have a couple of views of what it looks like on the side. We'll be going back and forth what that looks like. So let's see. Okay, and again, a little bit of thickness there. I think this is going to be a lot of eyeballing, so I wish I had taken some more photos. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my Photoshop, and I think we're going to go ahead and hit, since we have it sideways now, I'm going to go ahead and crop it. so cropping it's going to get rid of this wackiness up here and just treat it as a flat JPEG. Hit enter. I hit Command T, and I'm going to squeeze that, and I'm hitting Apple or Command, and I'm going to squeeze this just because I know there's two of these, and that'll give me a nice proportion of what that is, because that was really wide. I don't think that was correct. Alright, hit return, and then I'm going to go ahead and save this as JPEG, save as, and I'm going to try say don't show again, because this is really annoying. I want to save on my computer, don't want to save it onto the cloud. Sounds like that could be a good feature, but don't need it. Alright, so I'm going to go Maya Photos, and I'm going to call this JPEG, and I'm going to go ahead and call this lid. Don't really need to worry about quality, and then I'm going to jump into Maya and start modeling. Alright, for this one with Maya, I'm just going to go ahead and do a whole new scene. We don't really need to keep it in the same scene. I think it's sometimes easier just to start off with a whole new one. Just going to go into my front view, and just like what we did before, we're going to import an image, which, as you know, is the dumpster. Double click Maya Photos, and we're going to look for the lid, hit open, and there you go. I'm going to go ahead and go to my perspective view, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the grid, not my favorite thing, and I'm going to go ahead and start modeling. Alright, so we got a lot to do here. I think hopefully we can get this done in an hour, maybe a little bit shorter. So I'm going to do a polygon cube. I always kind of start with polygon cubes when modeling in Maya. And as you get better with modeling, you'll find other techniques that may be faster or shorter. Alright, so I'm just going to start getting some proportions out, looking at different angles, and again, turning off my grid. Okay. And I'm going to do right click, hold, go to my vertex, hit W, start getting portions. I hit 4 and 5, as you know, shaded. 4 is wireframe, and if we had textures on it, it would be 6 for textures. Okay, so this is, we're not really worried about like getting this perfect. This is just the lid, so I'm going to go right click object, and now I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this guy up. So again, you guys shouldn't have to follow every step, but if this is all new, definitely watch every step, because I want your geometry to look pretty good. So you can see where this lip stops, and I'm just assuming that happens up here, but because of the foreshortening of the photo, it does some really weird warping stuff here. Alright, so I'm going to just keep cutting, and I'm not going to worry about this lip here. We'll probably do that later, but I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting. Okay, I'm just using my photo. I'm using the top of it. I don't know why the top, not the bottom, but they are lining up as I cut. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and cut here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut on the bottom. And we have a little indentation here. That's kind of neat. But I'm going to go ahead and cut through here, here, here. so this is a good start of our form here. I'm going to go back and look at our images here, and you can see kind of has a nice bend here, but then there's also, this is flat. So this midsection is basically vacuum formed plastic. It's basically getting a large sheet of plastic, or it could have been kind of like a kayak. These are beads, and then this is a form that it goes in, and it's circulated in a hot form to create these shapes. But anyways, the edges are flat, and then this is bulging out. So we're gonna kind of use that as a reference. Keep going back and forth and looking at that as a reference. And I'm gonna go out here. So we have it flat. Go ahead, flat this down. Again, I'm just eyeballing it based on the photo. So if I look at the photo, that's pretty thin. I'm gonna go even thinner. Okay, now the rest of it starts to bulge out. And I think I'm gonna add some more cuts to it. So I hit 4. Now we have some kind of mid frame here. That's kind of weird. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more cuts here. So I'm gonna go to my object mode. I'm gonna hit 5 so I can see. Insert edge tool, hit my 4 real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it a couple times here. This may be a little bit overkill. Again, I don't like adding too much geometry. I want to keep it simple. And I'm gonna just add 1 and 2 here, 1, 2 here, and that's a lot. That's a lot of geometry for what I'm doing. All right, so I'm gonna hit 5, and I'm gonna go ahead and start raising this stuff up. So I think we're gonna go ahead and hit face and start selecting these faces that are related to this guy right here. Okay, I'm gonna hit 4, kind of make sure I'm selecting the right guys. So you can see it goes to the edge here, to the edge here. All right, we've got spaces. I'm gonna go ahead and hit 5. And I'm just gonna go ahead. I want to kind of extrude them all at the same time. Could be a disaster, but I think this is gonna work out all right. So, you can already see I screwed up here. I don't think I did a cut here. No, I didn't. So I'm gonna go to this view, go to object mode, insert edge, loop tool, and cut. All right, so that happens. Object mode, we're gonna go to face mode, and unfortunately we have to go through and select these all over again. All right, so this time I'm just gonna go all the way across, and you notice that we don't have them here. Should be a quicker way of doing this, but I'm just going to do it kind of old school so you can see. Probably use a brush selection tool. We'll get into that later, but again, I'm just holding down my shift key. If you're like trying to figure out like how to select multiple faces and you're like, it's just doing one at a time and I'm losing it, again, hold down your shift as your friend. You'll see it giving me a plus sign here, and you see that I've selected some that I don't want, and I'll go back and select them. Again, you're probably not watching everything, but you're glossing through it, but if you're doing this for the first time, definitely watch it. So I need to go back here and deselect those, and then I think those are selected. So this is different. It's not symmetrical. So up here it's a little bit different from the bottom. So I've selected them all. I'm gonna go to my hit 5. I'm gonna go to 5 mode, and then just make sure you've kind of have them all selected. That's kind of important. And we're going to go ahead and extrude it out. Alright, so again, let's look at our dumpster, and so we kind of want this shape. So I'm going to hit shift, hit extrude face, and definitely use the arrow here. And let's just keep looking at this. So I'm just, it doesn't kind of ridge out, it goes out slowly, but I'm going to hit G, which is does the last function, was extrude G, and pull out one more time. Alright, so now we're going to go to our side view, and we're just going to, let's go ahead and pull this way out. Okay, and that's probably as furthest it's going to go. I'm just looking at this little lip, and then it's probably about 5 times larger than that lip. Alright, so I'm going to look at it here. So I think, and I'm extending a little bit further than it should be, but that's alright. So we're going to try to find our midpoint. So I'm going to select the vertex and kind of go into my, so it looks like these are the midpoints plus these two. Alright, so that's my peak, and I'm just going to start eyeballing this stuff. Shift W, and this start giving some curvature to this. This is pretty rough, but again, we're just trying to slowly add some curvature when the geometry is low. Okay, so kind of even Steven here. And you can use your option key, I think it's, or alt, I'm not sure, to zoom in, your 3 mouse button. And again, I'm just trying to get a nice flow here. And so this is the big one right here. We want this flat. So if we look at our dumpster, it kind of goes flat and even. So we want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and pull this forward a little bit. I'll pull this forward a little bit and down. Again, I'm getting it flush. And this is up to your own interpretation of what you think the model is. You may think this is horrible, that's fine. But again, I just want, I want this watertight. I want you guys not to have triangles. I want everything quad base, especially when you're coming out of Maya. I want it nice and clean before you get into ZBrush. Just good modeling skills, that you have everything quad base. Especially once we get into bipeds or characters, we need to start doing rigging. I really want nice simple geometry, and then ZBrush will get into millions and billions of, well, not billions, but millions of polygon points. But you always want a nice clean mesh to work from, especially if you start animating. We want beautiful forms to start with that process. All right, so that looks not bad for them. You know, we're doing minimal geometry. We want to look at what that looks like from the side. So we're going to go here and hit on here. Actually hit 3. So when you hit 3, it kind of smooths it out, but we don't want it that smooth. Hit 1, and looks pretty good. So let's just keep adding details. We can smooth this out later, but I think we'll just keep it pretty rough like it is. So let's go ahead and add some more details. So I'm going to go to our front view. I'm going to go ahead and add this detail. This detail here can be done in Substance, and even the thing that I'm doing right now can probably be done in Substance, but I'm going to go ahead and add the geometry anyways. So I'm going to go to my face, just because we have it. Shift select these guys. Actually shift select this whole kind of area, and I'm going to go to my perspective view. I'll go ahead and select this so it's even, though it's kind of an overkill. Okay, and then I'm going to hit shift extrude face and just use your boxes and squeeze in. Use your arrow tools, and don't hit W or anything like that. This is at the point where we can work with this. Alright, so we're gonna go in here, and it may look like I've selected some stuff underneath it, but I don't know. Yeah, so I'm gonna hit R, scale. Alright, so there was a point where it wouldn't squeeze in with that tool set. So I'm gonna hit R, get that. There we go. Alright, and you can see from that photo it kind of indents in, and so I'm going to go ahead and shift and extrude face again, and I'm going to squeeze it in a little bit, use my boxes, I think you can hit R, and I'm just going to push it in. Alright, so now we have geometry for that. Alright, so we're almost done. I'm going to go ahead and start working on these and extending it, and we may try to make it round here. We may even try to give it a lip here, but again, try to keep the geometry minimal. Okay, so let's go to side view. We may just go ahead and move the geometry we have over. So I'm going to go ahead and I did a right click and vertex, and I'm going to go ahead and move that to here. Again, I'm eyeballing it. All this stuff has been stretched big time. So I'm going to go ahead like that, and we may do some bad geometry. We may do some multi-cuts versus the, cutting it all the way around in our insert edge loop tool. Right, so I just know this has been warped over. Go ahead, and again I'm doing a marquee. When I select those, again right click on the geometry, marquee, and then warping that over, just because I know it. You can see, and even with this geometry I'm gonna just pull that in, okay? Using my photo, even though it's been warped like craziness, right? I'm gonna go ahead and extrude some geometry. Oops, I'm gonna go to my face, and I'm gonna go to my top view here, my perspective view, and I'm gonna go ahead and shift select these faces. Again, be very careful not to select other ones. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit shift and extrude face. And I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this up. Go to my side view and see how far to take it. Alright, I'm gonna hit G and go up a couple times G. Alright, I'm gonna go to a midpoint, G, and then we'll probably work on them individually. So what I'm going to do is do some little bit of cheating to give me some reference on how to make these into kind of a cylinder form, knowing right now they are kind of blocky and we want them as these oversized circles. So if we look back, always go back and reference your images. You can kind of see the circle here, even though they've been kind of destroyed. Again, I should have spent some more time and looking at details, but don't think anyone's going to ever get that close to our virtual object. So let's go back to Maya, and we're going to create some layers and kind of organize this so it doesn't get out of hand. So we're not accidentally selecting things. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 empty layers. This one I'm going to go add selected objects, and you can see I can turn it on and And let's go ahead and do that for this also, add selected objects, right? So we can turn that on and off. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it on, but this one maybe is an R. R is locked, so, but it's there and I can turn it on. So what I'm gonna do is create a cylinder, polygon cylinder, and you're like, well, where did it go? It will be at the origins. There we go. And just go ahead, and what we're gonna do is scale it up. Obviously not that big, but we want to elongate it so we have it as a reference, and that's all we're using it for. We're not using it for modeling. We could possibly use this for the rod later on. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it right hand, but I want it completely right hand. So I'm gonna go over here to my right to my channel editor. I'm going to type in 90 so I know it's exactly. So right now it's 91. So we're going to do that. And I'm already teaching you bad practices. You definitely need to save this. And I'm lucky it just hasn't crashed. So definitely save your scene. I want to do it save scene as, go to my dumpster and my files. And I'm going to call this lid just to keep it organized, and do a save as in MB, Maya binary. You can also do ASCII, but Maya binary is probably good. Go ahead and save. And you should have been doing this every 5 minutes. When I get tired, I forget, and it's a really bad habit not to save it. Again, do incremental saves just in case you screw it up. Alright, so this is great. So we kind of see the diameter of this in this photo, so that's great. That's why we take these photos, so we know exactly how thick to go about this. So this is kind of our rod to help us out on size, scaling. So I'm going to go ahead with my green box and just kind of stretch it through, all the way through, so we can have a reference. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create an empty layer. And we are going to hit Command D. So Command D will duplicate it. I think it's Apple D or Command D, depending on your Mac or PC. I don't know what it is on a PC. But we're going to go ahead and scale up another one. Okay, so you can see the old one there, and we're scaling up the other one. And why we're doing that is going to go ahead and make another layer. Add this. And so you can see our original one is underneath it, but that's kind of our base of how big this should be. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this up a little bit further. Okay, and then I'm going to size it down so you can see what that looks like in 5 mode. Alright, again, these are just kind of things to help us figure out the size. So I'm going to grab, shift select both of them, hit W, and I'm going to move it kind of in the center of all that mess there. Okay, again, just eyeball it. Okay, these are just, this video is just kind of give you some ideas, but again, I want the geometry to be kind of dead on. I'm going to go ahead and select both, even though I have one of those on here. Alright, so I'm going to hit R as a reference. And we're going to unselect that so we can get back to here. Everything else is kind of locked down. And now I'm going to start creating some geometry that is kind of round here. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on that. May have to do these one at a time, or let's see what it looks like on the side view. I really didn't add too much geometry, and I'm kicking myself now, but let's go to 4 vertex, and we're going to go out here and just kind of make it round. Again, we're probably way overkilling this. This is, again, a dumpster. It should only take you about an hour to model probably everything as you get faster and faster at modeling. And if you start doing this for a living, you really have to be accurate and fast. And so you gotta really learn how to whip through this quickly. So I think I'm gonna cut maybe a couple more times. And let's see how that reacts when we cut. So let's do insert edge, cut tool. Alright, let's cut here. Okay, so these are not going to line up, but there we go. And I'm going to do one on the top. And so we're looking out that it's cutting through. I didn't think it was, but this is good. Alright, so the only bad thing about what we're doing here is things are not going to line up when we get to the side view. So, but I think that's alright. Get out of our cut tool, go to our selection tool, and again, you should know how to do that. And so I'm just going to keep kind of pulling out my geometry. It's going to get wonky. It's alright. Push and pull. Again, if you have a better technique for this, it's fine. Just make sure you keep the geometry minimal. You don't want to go overboard on geometry at this stage. You can start adding more as you start getting the full form, but always keep it very, very, very simple, and at the end add geometry. But if you're doing this for a game, you want to keep the polygon count way down. Alright, so not the best looking curves here, but I think it's going to work for us. Alright, so let's look at it from this perspective. Alright, pretty good. So now we want to add the whole holes here. So I don't really want to do a Boolean punch. We could to create a hole here, but I really don't want to do bad geometry or teach you bad geometry at this point. So let's go ahead and take the poles out, and I'm going to go ahead and hit face, and know that we need to kind of extrude this, and I'm going to do it on the other side too. And hit F. F will snap it to what you just have it selected. And so I know it's the 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And right click, extrude face. And squeeze this in. And I'm going to turn on my reference image, maybe as a T. Just kind of give me a ballpark, maybe, or I don't know. And sometimes you can make this stuff semi-transparent, which is helpful. Alright, so I'm going to hit G again, and as you've seen before, we pull this in. Okay, and I'm going to hit delete. Alright, this time I'm not going to snap out, well, maybe I will, snap all those together like we've done before, but again, just quickly, so we did that 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to go to face mode. Turn this off, and I think it was the 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and shift, extrude face, and we're going to just pull that in, and hit G, extrude face again, hit 4. Okay, I'll go ahead and delete, basically deleting those faces, so if I look through, there's no geometry, okay? Again, these are good practices. We could have selected both those geometry and the pole and did a Boolean, but again, it would not be watertight. And again, just try your best to try to get some good geometry at the beginning, and no matter what, they're gonna look bad, and you will thank me once you get into like Unreal Game Engine. That stuff is clean. You don't want weird flickering and stuff like that. You can get away with murder with I hit G. You can get away with murder and like Maya rendering and stuff like that, but you don't want flickering because of bad geometry in game engines. So that's what I'm kind of getting you guys prepped for, because I think that's kind of really the future of where you're going with this industry with Unreal Game Engine. So many things kind of heading in that direction. So basically I'm just pulling this near that and shift, and we're going to go vertex, merge vertex, and let's see if that did anything. So you see my pop-up menu is missing, and I think I showed you how to do display, heads up display, and we want poly count, and it is there, and for some reason it's not showing up. Oh, here we go. Poly count. Show. Well, I don't know why my poly count isn't coming up. There's my heads up. Let's go ahead and tear this off. Oops. And I should probably stop this video soon, because we're probably getting heavy. Don't know why that's not working. Let's go display. Heads up. Let's do a poly count. Interesting. Let's do a vertex count, maybe? Alright. Hopefully you're not watching this. Alright, usually polygon count should be right there. Let's see. Oh, there it is. So that was interesting. So white font on white, and so we can't see. So I'm gonna move this over, select that, and our verts are 1. So we did a good job there. And I'm gonna go ahead and weld these together real quick. See if this is close enough. Let's do merge vertex, merge vertices, and okay, so you can visually see those welded together. Sometimes you can get away with this if they're close enough. And there we go, pretty clean. So I'm going to stop there, and again, get into that practice of incremental saves, not just save as, but increment and save, and that will save it to a 001 to 002. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here the video, just because it's a long video, and I'll finish this up, and then we'll start working on the poll and the 2 other features. So I think this is going pretty quick.